Today at the House of Mario, I discuss why I love my time I've spent with Bayonetta Origins. My most anticipated game, Atelier Ryza 3, is out, and an interview with the game's director has sparked backlash from creepy fans. And the answer to last week's mystery jukebox was Waluigi Stadium for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. If you love Nintendo, video games, and the culture that surrounds them, you've found your home. Come on in. G'day everybody, and welcome to the House of Mario, the South Australian Nintendo podcast that is backed by a 120 power star rating. I'm your host Drew Agnew, and the doors to episode 247 are open. I hope you're going well. Hope you're having a fantastic day wherever and whenever you are listening to the show. Hope you're really enjoying yourself. I don't know, maybe you're doing some exercise or maybe you're playing some video games. That'll be great. I hope you're playing something fun, that's for sure. And I don't know if you've got me playing over some story moments in the game. That's a bit psychotic. I don't know what that's about. You've got to concentrate on the story when it comes to your games, but maybe you're just playing some Mario Kart or Smash Brothers. That's fine. That's what I typically like to engage in when I'm listening to a podcast or something. But even in some other games, I'm just like sort of doing some grinding and a story moment pops up and I pause the podcast and go on that way. But regardless, hope you're going well, hope your family's safe and everything is going well in your life. This week for me, I've basically started sharing and crutching again. So I guess time for putting into the podcast and videos and that will be a little bit less over the next month, purely because I won't have a day dedicated to it anymore. But hopefully I'll still get it out. But yeah, I'll be trying to be very transparent as what I'm able to muster over the next month or so while I'm working. But I've already got the day off for the Mario movie on the 5th. Really looking forward to that. It's going to be so much fun. I've got I cannot wait for the Mario movie. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be I've just got such high hopes. I don't know if that's a bad thing, but I'm so confident that it's going to be awesome. But I think it will be. I think it's going to be a great movie. So a couple of weeks away. Very much looking forward to it. Before we get into things too deeply, I want to just cover some housekeeping here at the House of Mario. And this is how you can support the show and help make this house a home, because this show is very important to me. And I know there's a nice group of people out there who enjoy the show as well. So ways you can support the show is very simply go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify and leave a 5-star review. Nice and simple. Helps other people find the show through your nice words, reviews, and also triggers the algorithm to push us up a little bit. Get us off the bottom, off the sea floor. Give us some buoyancy. Get us up there. Christ almighty. And yeah, really looking forward to hearing some reviews from you guys. You can also go to youtube.com/iDruby, subscribe to the YouTube channel, check out the video podcast over there, the YouTube shorts, and some other videos I've been meaning to get up there. I haven't done just a video that isn't the podcast in a little while, but I definitely want to fix that. I've got some videos that I want to put up regarding some unboxings and some discussions of some games, etc., etc. Yeah, YouTube's very much a learning experience for me. So over 2023, really want to learn as much as I can and start the YouTube channel up well. But at 170 subscribers at the moment, really happy with that. I think that's awesome. Be cool to help me get to 200. So see how that goes. And you can also support me over at patreon.com/iDruby, where from $1 you can get access to our podcast I do with my good friend Josh of the other excellent South Australian Nintendo podcast, Nintenvania, where we do a podcast called Heaps Good, where we just discuss whatever comes to our mind. And a little bit of insight, we're actually discussing a brand new collaboration podcast we're going to be doing in the relatively near future. Won't talk about it too much here because it's very much still in the planning phases, but on that episode of Heaps Good over at the Patreon, you can actually get a real in-depth sort of look at how we are coming up with ideas for that show. And it is a video games podcast, just to put it out there as well. And I just want to give a huge shout out to members of my Patreon that are supporting me at the $3 level or higher. So big thank you to Brendan Myers, Oliver Chaston, Samuel Hay, DJ, Lemonade, and our brand new patron, Patrice Mallet. Thank you so much for joining, my friend. Really do appreciate you joining me there. And honestly, there's a name I don't recognize from Twitter or Discord or anything like that. So awesome that there's people out there who are enjoying the show enough to decide to support me on Patreon. So very, very happy with that, man. So hope you enjoy the content there and the content here at the House of Mario. Very much appreciated. Let's jump into a Guru Geek Out for this week. I really want to talk about a brand new album that came out from Fall Out Boy, dropped today, an album called So Much for Stardust. Fall Out Boy is my favorite band of all time. I love them. I've loved them since first year of high school. It's been a long time. My music taste obviously hasn't changed too much. But, you know, since high school, the albums, in my personal opinion, were getting better and better and better until I think it was 2018 or 19. They released an album and it really dropped the bar. I didn't enjoy it whatsoever, but all their albums up to then I really enjoyed. So this morning, first thing I saw on my phone was a notification that it's finally dropped. I've been anticipating it forever. Finally dropped, listened through it, and none of the songs like grabbed me straight away. There was a song at the very, might have been a couple of months or a month ago where I absolutely loved it. I'm like, this song is awesome. But none of it sort of grabbed me as much as that song. But certainly, I believe a lot of the songs are going to be like stuff I've got to, get used to, learn, and then eventually grow on me a lot more. So I'm just stoked that there's a brand new Fall Out Boy album, because there's been a lot of bands that I've enjoyed throughout high school and they haven't had albums for 3-4 years. Another one of my favorite bands is Icy Stars. And whenever I talk about music or anything like it with friends or family or whatever, no one's heard of Icy Stars. I'd love to know if any of you guys are Icy Stars fans. But it's like electronic, emo, heavy, screamo music. It's I don't know how to describe it. Post emo. I don't know exactly how to describe it. Definitely, you can definitely see why I got into it during high school. But it stuck with me, man. And like the lead singer and everything just sounds so good. And they were meant to have an album drop last year, and they just went silent. They ghosted everyone, and I don't know what exactly has happened, but hopefully we see it from them too. So, pretty stoked about what's going on music-wise as far as my taste goes. So, really excited about that. So, Fall Out Boy. If any of you guys are fans of Fall Out Boy or you want to check them out, go and check them out. Let me know what you think of the new album. I'm keen to hear what everyone's thinking, because yeah, I've got to listen to it a little bit more. I'm recording this just like how many hours after I've gone up? Like 4 hours. Haven't really had that much time. I listened through the album. I'm like, okay, cool. But I was also getting my son ready for childcare and stuff like that. So I wasn't like 100% focusing on it. But cool stuff, man. It's a good day. It's a big game that I've really been looking forward to that's came out today as well as Resident Evil 4 Remake as well, which I'm not picking up today, but it is pre-ordered. I will go and pick it up tomorrow from EB Games. Oh man, it's a good day today. Really is a good day today. My wife and I, Chantel, we're going to celebrate our second wedding anniversary tomorrow as well. I've been really looking forward to this weekend for a long time. I really have. So exciting stuff, man. Exciting stuff. All right. Let's jump into my week of gaming this week. And the first game I want to talk about is Bayonetta Origins, Cereza and the Lost Demon. This game was provided to me from Nintendo Australia, so thank you very much to the team at Nintendo Australia for supporting me and the House Mario and the content that we create here. But jumping into this was a game that I wasn't necessarily super anticipating, but when the game got announced at the Game Awards, it certainly caught my eye just with the visual presentation, how Bayonetta was completely changing how that game was interpreted. Bayonetta is very hyper-sexualized, action-packed. It's like an awesome game, one of, Platinum Games' premier action games. So seeing them take like a real different approach where you are controlling Bayonetta as Cereza, when she's a child trying to become a witch. And during the game, she has a little doll, Shesha, little cat doll. And throughout the events of the game, you summon a demon. The demon takes a form in this plush of this cat and gets named Shesha. And you're trying to go throughout the woods as you're trying to get out the woods, because it's a very dangerous place. You got warned that you're not meant to go in here. And just how many hours I've put into the game? Maybe 4 or 5 hours. I'm on chapter 5. There's 13 chapters within the game, so I'm not halfway yet. But immediately I was just really struck by this game. The game looks stunning on Switch. And some areas, depending on the lighting, really did take me away. I wouldn't even thought that I was playing on a Switch. It looked fantastic on my OLED TV. But the whole gameplay premise is you control Cereza with the left stick, Shesha with the right stick, and use the triggers and the bumpers to do attacks and just interact with the world. You don't do too much with the face buttons apart from swapping abilities with Shesha, which you unlock throughout the game. There's different abilities like being able to interact with plants. Then I've just got the second ability where you're able to smash rocks, and that helps you interact with the world a lot more. And even with them, they're sort of like Metroidvania style, where you can go back to previous areas in the woods or the overworld where you couldn't progress before because you didn't have those abilities. So that's an interesting sort of take on it too. But what I really enjoy most about this game is just how it's presented, because I think you can look at this game and you can sort of think to yourself that this is very much like an indie game made by Platinum and published by Nintendo, and it's $80. And the $80 price tag might be a problem for some. And honestly, for me, I probably might have skipped this game for a little bit, purely because $80 and it's in between, like, my most anticipated game is Atelier Ryza 3. It came out the week afterwards. So I'm like, all right, I don't really have enough time for this necessarily. I can wait, I can save some money. But luckily, like I said, I was provided the code from Nintendo, so I was able to jump into the game. And I was pleasantly surprised just with how much it took me. And I guess the demo could have helped with that as well. There is a demo that carries on your progress, which is just awesome. I love when demos do that. Just don't play them too early before you pick up the game. Otherwise, you'll forget what happened. So you jump back into the game and you're like, all right, I've got to replay it anyway just to get the tutorials back in order. But the presentation is just top notch. Like, it feels like this type of game with the maximum amount of polish, shine, and mechanical depth that you would expect from a full price game. So while the price isn't necessarily wrong, I feel like a $50 Australian price tag would have been just perfect. Anybody would have just like, yeah, no, I'll buy that. That'll look cool. I feel like that would have been a lot better entry point. But if you're looking for something to play and this game looks appealing to you, I think $80 is a good sort of price tag for it. Checking on how long to beat, takes about 14 hours. So it's a relatively long game, not too long, not too short. So I'm looking forward to getting to the end and seeing what's going on. But it feels great to play as you're sort of exploring the areas. There's lots of hidden secrets as you're going along that you're able to use your abilities. Stuff hidden in bushes, whether it's just parts to do some crafting with. Only very light crafting. It's not too much. You go to your cauldron, you put it automatically puts all the ingredients you need for potions or buffs or just stuff to use in combat. Apart from healing myself, I haven't really mucked around too much with it. Haven't felt the need. Haven't really been stuck combat-wise just yet. But it's just really fun to explore and check out all the little nooks and crannies, see what hidden secrets there are. Because there's plenty of little puzzles to do along the way. You can skip them, it won't matter too much, but if you want to get the items, which are similar to heart containers in Legend of Zelda, where you find 5 pieces, you put it together, you get an extra segment of health, and stuff like that, and ingredients to use for crafting in the cauldron, and battle items and stuff like that. It just feels great to explore, and that's my favorite aspect of the game so far, is being able to utilize all them. And then when you run into combat, a lot of the time you get forced into its own little combat area, and you get different enemies come at you, and you've got different ways of taking these down. And in the early game, it's very much just using Shesha. He's the only one that can attack, and Cereza plays the supporting character, where as Cereza, you can hold them in place with your magic, and with the right stick, you're controlling Shesha, and you're using the ZR button to do the attacks. And you can do different sort of combos. You've got a skill tree that allows you to unlock things as you go along, which I really enjoy. And I like how skill trees, like, it's a very simple skill tree. It's only got like a few options, not too many. But you can unlock different abilities and stuff. Like, there's a finisher where Shesha just like throws them in the air and crunches on them to finish them off, which is really useful. You can unlock a dodge roll for both Shesha and Cereza. Get a little bit muddled when I'm saying Cereza and Shesha. But it feels great so far, and I'm looking forward to unlocking more abilities on the skill tree. Because I'm seeing some abilities where I'm like, oh, that looks really good. I really want that for combat. Not because it would be useful necessarily, but it just adds a little bit more flavor and variety to the game. And you're able to unlock these abilities on the skill tree by collecting currency. You've got 2 different currencies for Cereza and Cereza, which works out well. And there's also items as well that for the more, I guess, grandiose or special abilities, you're able to put them towards it as well. Like there's a special fruit that Cereza needs to unlock some of the bigger abilities in the skill tree, and same with Cereza as well, which you find throughout hidden secrets and exploration in the overworld, which really encourages you to set out and see if you can find some of them. But as far as that goes, that's my first few hours with Cereza and the Lost Demon. I was really hoping to finish it this week, but starting work, I had a few nights where I couldn't put in the game time, unfortunately, because typically for me, my gaming is between 8 o'clock and 12 o'clock at night. You know, Lucas goes to bed, turn on the TV, put my headphones on, just sink into the game world, really enjoy myself. But had a real bad night with Lucas. He's teething quite bad. He woke up God knows how many times. And the next couple of days has just been early nights for Drew Boy. So, yeah, not finished with it yet. I'll be tackling it over the next week or weeks after. Who knows? But like I've said in previous episodes, I really want to be better at actually finishing games. So I've been pretty good at it so far, but we'll see how that goes. But really enjoying my time with Cereza and the Lost Demon. Fantastic game, man. Really great. I 100% recommend it. I think it's a lot of fun. If it's a little bit too much for you, price-wise, I think a sale, we get it for $50 or $60. It is a Nintendo published game, so will that happen? God knows. Don't rely on it anytime soon. But definitely a big recommendation, especially if you're a fan of Bayonetta and you just want the lore. Lore-wise, it's probably worth it as well. The story's great, and it's told in a real storybook style where there's a narrator and they've got a lot of personality as they're interpreting the demon, because he doesn't actually talk, but, you know, that's what the narrator's doing. It's a great game, man. It's really fun. So probably, I'm thinking about what's came out. It's probably the Nintendo published game that's come out this year that's captured me the most, honestly. Out of, Fire Emblem, Kirby, and now Cereza the Lost Demon, I would probably put that first out of them. You know, Kirby's Kirby. Kirby's awesome. Real polished, beautiful looking, plenty of abilities, plenty of secrets, plenty of micro games, high scores, challenges. Awesome Kirby game. And I'm just chipping away at that. I don't need to binge that game, but I'm chipping away at it every now and again when I pick up my Switch. And Fire Emblem, which I've just fallen off, but like I said, I'm pretty determined to not fall off another Fire Emblem game. I've fallen off like every single Fire Emblem game apart from Warriors last year. So let's not make that happen again. Please, Drew. Don't do it again. Don't. You can't do your previous mistakes. But yeah, Bayonetta Origins. Awesome stuff. And let's move on to the 11th game that I've beaten this year. I'm keeping track of all the games that I've beaten. And I'm really happy that I was able to do this in time. This was something I set out at the start of the year when we knew Atelier Ryza 3 was coming out on the 24th of March, which is today at the time of recording this. So the 11th game I've beaten is Atelier Ryza 2, Secret Legends, and The Secret Fairy. And this game was awesome. I loved it so much. It's a JRPG from developer Gust, published by Koei Tecmo. And it's just a really great sequel to a game that I absolutely loved playing at the start of the year. And I'm so happy that, like I said, I was able to beat it in time. And it's a huge recommendation on Nintendo Switch, PS4, PC. I personally played on PlayStation 5. But the game it's a JRPG where crafting is one of the most important elements of progression in the game. You do level up with your usual JRPG affair, but alchemy and crafting is a huge importance in the game where all of your armor, your weapons, your items, battle items, healing items, everything is crafted and made by you, by items that you gather in the open world. And you bring them back and you craft. And a lot of the times if you get stuck, it's because you need to find better crafting materials and craft better items. And I was originally drawn. I was originally drew to this series because of like, this is just a completely different take on a JRPG. And typically you have crafting in a lot of games, especially today, since it's become a lot more mainstream, even in Animal Crossing, for example, where you've got your crafting. But this game, this series, the Atelier series, it's just so in depth to the point where some mechanics I'm like, it goes over my head. Like there's so much as it introduces you throughout the game as it's telling you different mechanics, different methods. Like you can have like the same suit of armor, but through using different items, you can have different traits, different abilities, different stats. It's just crazy how you can min-max every single little aspect of every item, everything in the game. It's crazy. And typically I'm not that kind of player. I played through the game just using what's good enough and, making sure I don't get trounced by bosses. But I can imagine if you're someone who's like, I don't know, like a lot of Destiny players, for example, they grind for hours and hours and hours to get the best sort of loadout. And a lot of other games as well, whether it's MMOs or whatever. I could see someone like that really enjoying this game through the crafting system. And it's nice as well because when you're crafting, you're just sort of, putting the items into place on this sort of grid. It's like imagine like a skill tree grid where you start off with the first couple of items and you can place the different items depending on what traits you want in different directions, or you can even unlock different recipes for better weapons or better items through other recipes. So there's a lot to the actual crafting itself. But I got to say, what drew me to the series is the characters, the art, the music, all of that you expect from a Japanese role-playing game. And the story for me in Atelier Ryza 1 really captured me because it's a coming-of-age story where Ryza and her friends are in this small village. Ryza is from a farming family, and she doesn't really care about farming. She wants to go on adventures. She wants to become an alchemist. She's got a longing for something different. And I fell in love with that story, especially how it concluded, just in a real nice, heartwarming way, because I was like, oh my God, I can relate to this. I can relate to this anime girl in this made up island in this video game. Because, in some ways I feel the same, whereas, I'm born into the farm, but it's not my love, it's not my passion. And there's even a character in this second game where she felt the same, and she sort of saw what Ryza was doing and felt envious of her going on adventures. And I was sort of left at the end of the first game feeling the same way. I'm like, it really impacted me in a way that might not impact others because, of their position in life or how they were raised or whatever, but it's something that I really resonated with. So going to the second game, I was really keen to see how these characters have grown throughout the years. There's a 3-year gap between Atelier Ryza 1 and 2. And Ryza goes to the capital city to meet up with her friends who moved there for their own reasons. There's a character called Tao who goes to the capital city to study. There's a character called Boss who wants to train and be better so he can take over the family business back on the island. And there's a bunch of different characters as well that you meet along the way that have really great character growth and all of that. And that is personally what I love most about these Atelier games, how all the characters have so much personality, and a lot of the story isn't that there's some big bad guy that you need to take over. In fact, that's the most boring aspect of the games. The final boss is very much just cool. It's a cool looking designed thing, and I'll beat it, and I'll beat the game, and the credits roll. But the whole game is based around like just a slice of life, the moments in between all the madness, what the characters are thinking, and all of that. And I really, all the characters are just really, really great. I really enjoyed them, and even like the mundane things where it might be a fetch quest where somebody needs a particular item and you need to go and synthesize it. And while that's not super interesting on paper, you might not have the right ingredients to synthesize this item. So you go and make it, you bring it back, and then it progresses the story more. And these are just side quests. This isn't necessarily even the main game. And it's just, that is what I personally really find charming about the games, is just all the character interactions. So if you want to jump into Atelier Ryza 1, 2, or 3, I believe you can do it any order. But the only thing is you'll be missing out on the context between the growth of the characters, whether together or separately. There'll be a lot missing there. But as far as like lore and like, all right, you know, what happens, it's a simple probably paragraph to catch up on what happened. You know, they went here, they beat this. Then in the second game, they went here, this happened, they beat this. You know, there's not too much as like the overarching story. But as far as like all the little character interactions, that is what will be missed if you jump straight to the third game or the second game. But it's not too big a deal, because I know the whole idea of playing through 2 games before getting to the new game that you want to play, that that probably means you just won't play it at all, because that's too big a commitment. But it is a commitment that I wanted to make, because I really, really liked the look of these games and just how it sort of plays with it all mechanically. And when I was watching anime in high school, a lot of the animes that I really liked were slice of life animes. Like K-On!, for example. I don't know if any of you guys remember that movie. A bunch of high school girls getting together, making a club in school, being in a band. It's just slice of life, playing cool music. It was really good fun. So I think these games might scratch the itch as far as that goes. But of course, with the characters, the story, all of that, I think it's the active battle system that makes the game a lot of fun as well. Where it isn't active like Final Fantasy VII Remake, where you're running around and you're holding in the trigger, you're choosing your attack, and it's like a hack and slash sort of combat. It is turn-based, but it is active. So you've got your turn order and it will come up, but you can do certain button prompts that will elevate your turn so you can go a little bit quicker. And you're basically building up your AP bar, so that's your action points. And your action points allow you to pull off big, I guess, special attacks. But when you use your special attacks, points also go into your, I forgot what the term was, but your battle level, we'll just call it here. And your battle level goes from 1 to 5, and along the way, as your level goes up during battle, you're able to accumulate more AP points. So being able to get your characters to use more attacks more frequently. And also you can do just more standard attacks in a row and pull off bigger combos as your level goes up. It's a really addictive and fun sort of combat system. There's a lot more to it as far as, getting other points, using your core crystals, where you can use your battle items as many times as you want, but you've got to build up points to use them as well. And it's just a really interesting battle system that I really enjoy, that, it's something to concentrate on as far as the timing goes, but also think about what's coming ahead, what items you're going to use, what things you'll synthesize and what will work well, you got a bunch of characters you can choose that you can swap in and out. You've got like a fourth slot where you can move one of your party members in and out, and you can continue the combo streak as it goes on. It was a really great battle system that I think has grown a lot since the first game. The first game, you basically had to use your bank of AP points and then use them to go up a level. But in the second game, you're very much just using those AP points, and when you use your skills, it builds up your level. So you're kind of getting rid of the middleman there. I don't know if anything I said makes any sense to a lot of you guys out there that have not or will not play these games, but it's something that I certainly really enjoyed. And it's just a really, really great game. So I'm really happy that I was able to finish it. And the third game came out today, and I'm absolutely stoked to play it. I've got it preloaded on PlayStation 5. And let's go through some of the reviews here on Metacritic as far as what the reception is for Atelier Ryza 3, Alchemist of the End, and The Secret Key. Certainly my most anticipated game, apart from The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So as far as reviews I want to pull from, it's got 82 on Metacritic. Great score, pretty much in line with what the other 2 games in the trilogy received as well. So a great score, really happy with that. I'm glad that it came out well. In an outlet that I've been following quite closely, actually, because of their coverage of the Atelier games. These games are quite niche, so places like IGN, GameSpot, places like that not covering this niche JRPG. But Noisy Pixel says in their summary for their review, Atelier Ryza 3, Alchemist of the End, and the Secret Key is the best entry in the series, hands down. Every system has been enhanced and perfected, with the additional key feature melded expertly into its core narrative. Sometimes the world can feel a lot bigger than it is, causing some pacing issues within the story, and there are a few characters who could have received more of the spotlight. But I can't stress enough how memorable this experience is. It's sad to say goodbye. Gust did right by Ryza with this finale. And we'll go down towards the lower end of the scale with Push Square. And their summary for their review says, Atelier Ryza 3, Alchemist of the End and the Secret Key is the biggest Atelier game to date. Ryza and her friends are just as charming as ever, and this is a fantastic way to end the trilogy. The vibrant open world areas are a joy to explore, and the slick combat and engaging alchemy system will keep you entertained throughout. I don't know if I said what score they gave it, but they gave it a 70, as it's been aggregated by Metacritic. So really, excited. I'm glad that I haven't been excited for this game for ages, and then it just like, oh, it's awful. That would be really disappointing. Because the game did receive a month delay from the 24th last month to the end of this month, which was great for me. I was able to finish the second game, thank God. That would have been a big crunch for Drew, but he got them in. And just really, really happy with the series, and I cannot wait to jump into it later today and see what it's all about. So I'll be talking about the third game next week, and eventually when I finish it. The game's about 30 hours according to the developers, and I believe them because the last couple of games took me 30 hours to beat as well. But also, if you want to stick around to all the side quests, just really concentrate on your alchemy, getting your items as good as you want them to be, you can spend a lot more time in them. There's some reviews I was checking out for the first and second game. Some people put 50 hours into it, and some people stuck around for like the whole time, put 100 hours into it. And personally, I would like more time. I'm going to go back to the second game and maybe get the Platinum Trophy, hopefully. But we'll see. We'll see. There's always new games coming out. It's going to be hard to go back to do that. So yeah, awesome stuff. And I just want to say as well, there's been an Atelier Ryza anime series that's been announced, and this makes me smile so much because this game would make an awesome anime. Like, the game looks like an anime. It's just a really stunning game with great characters in that. So, of course, it would be a great anime. I just want to quote as far as to describe the anime. So, quote, the main character is Ryza, an ordinary girl. Tired of the boring village life, she escapes the village to gather with her good friends in a secret location to talk of their dreams and plan thrilling adventures. One day, the determined Ryza and company decide to head to the Forbidden Island across the shore as their first exploration trip. Together with the Alchemist and other friends they meet there, they have a summer adventure that they will never forget. So I cannot wait for the anime. I'm going to be checking it out wherever I can watch it. I don't know, Crunchyroll, hopefully, somewhere. I don't know. Wherever it is, I'll get my subscription. Keen to check it out. Okay, so now I want to bring up some weird aspect that I came across. So Nintendo Life, they had an interview with the series director. I'm going to try and pronounce this right. I read it multiple times before starting the podcast. Now I've forgotten now that I've actually started. Hosoi-san. I don't know if I got that right. I'm so sorry, sir, if I pronounced your name wrong. Hosoi-san. Had an interview with Nintendo Life, and Nintendo Life asked him this question, and we'll discuss the reaction to the answer. So, having reviewed, this is what the interviewer asks, having reviewed all the Switch entries in the series over the past few years, we've noticed a shift from what you might call more fan-servicey style towards RPGs that feel they are trying to appeal to a much wider audience. Has it been a conscious decision to reflect the style of the franchise in this way? And Hosoi-san says, yes, it is. We want as many players as possible to pick up and play our games. For this reason, we are constantly listening to the opinions of various players and looking for and coming up with the content they that they will enjoy again. We would be happy if many people think of Gust games when they think of JRPGs. And I came across this quote from Go Nintendo. They published the article, just taking the snippet out of Nintendo Life's interview. Read through the interview, really great. If you want to hear more about the development of Atelier Ryza 3, go and check that out on Nintendo Life. But Go Nintendo just took this out and, highlighted the fan service aspect of the game. Basically, people were, I guess, Go Nintendo's article took it that they were reducing the amount of fan service in future Atelier games. And for those that don't know, the Atelier series is very much based on, all the protagonists, apart from one, is, they're pretty female characters, your standard sort of pretty anime girls for the most part that you might see, I don't know, in just, your typical video games. And for me, I got to admit, I quite enjoy pretty female characters in video games. I'm not going to lie about that. I like, there's an aspect of the Atelier series that I really like the pretty aesthetic of, the characters in Atelier. But as far as fan service goes, I got to say, I don't feel like it's not very strong in the Atelier series. It's kind of a meme at this point, but as far as Atelier Ryza go, everyone's pointing at her thighs, which grosses me out a little bit. Because, yes, she's got short shorts on, but she's not. I wouldn't say her design is inherently over-sexualized, apart from the short shorts and having thighs, which I find it weird. Even reviews, reviews on YouTube, it's titled like thigh review or something like that. It's like, okay, it's a little bit much. We get it. You got a pretty bubbly protagonist who's wearing short shorts, and he is visually pleasing to the eye, but when you overdo it a little bit, and I feel like in Atelier Ryza 2, there, as far as it goes, there's characters and side characters that have big boobs, which is just like, for me, I'm like, who enjoys this? Just massive breasts, where it's at the point when you're just thinking to yourself, that is just way overdone. But that's just me. I'm sure there's lots of people out there who enjoy it. And there are sections when you've got to, crawl to hidden areas where you can find different gathering items, or maybe, just secrets and stuff, which is fun as far as you're exploring these areas. But basically you get on your knees and you start crawling, and the camera just goes to an angle really highlighting Ryza's ass, and it feels weird. I'm sitting on the couch next to my wife. I'm like, honey, I swear I'm not playing this just to goggle at this woman's ass. I swear I'm not doing it. But I've put out what I feel about the fan service. I feel like the fan service in the Atelier series is very light. There's a couple of characters that are overdone as far as designs of their assets go. But as far as the design of Ryza herself, there's nothing too egregious going on. She's just wearing short shorts and she's showing off her thighs. That's pretty tame, especially if we're going off the standard of Japanese games where all the characters are just, crazily underdressed, especially the female characters, which is something I want to see sort of... I want the Japanese game industry to sort of, think about it a little bit more, make it a little bit more appropriate. And if you do want to do designs like that, there are thirsty men out there, that's fair enough, but make sure we make it age appropriate as well. Make these characters adults. That's a separate conversation to talk about. But the reaction to the game's developer just saying just talking about fan service, there was... I don't know, it's sort of weirdly worded. Are they going to lean more into fan service, or are they going to be removing fan service from the series? I'm not too sure. It's kind of weirdly worded how they reviewed all the past games, and we noticed a shift from what you might call more fan servicey games. Is there a shift towards it or away from it? Because Atelier Ryza 3, it's rated PG here in Australia. I could play this with my son and just personal guidance. Just sit here. And it's like, yes, that is a woman with short shorts, son. Like, there's not too much to be censored or remove your kids away from. But the sole reason why I bring this up is the comments on Twitter under this Go Nintendo post, where were funny, they entertained me, but extremely sad, and it just shows you what the depth of just basement-dwelling losers there are in the video game community. It's disgusting, and how women are treated, fictional women are treated, and it really highlights potentially, I can't talk from my own experience, but potentially what real women are treated like. You hear stories about, them being treated awfully, and in my circles, I hope to God that they're treated with respect, but just what people were saying about this series, about Ryza, about just, about the lack of fan service in the games was just disgusting. So I've highlighted some comments that I found on Twitter, and we'll go through them and we'll discuss them as we go. But the first one's very simple. It was just, we will not be playing. So, okay, so less fan service in the Atelier series or in Ryza 3 or whatever they meant in the article. It doesn't quite matter at this point. We are just discussing what people are saying about fan service in video games, and just the need of female characters to be gawked at by men. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with that, but the idea of them bringing that back and the backlash that has happened from this is just creepy and gives me big ick vibes. Second comment is literally only thing anyone knows about the series is the fan service. Like, it's not an acclaimed darling. It's one of a million weeb games designed to get money from horny dudes, nothing else to it. And this one was a real head scratcher to me. Like, yes, a pretty female protagonist might get you in the door, but to say there's nothing else to it is just like, you care enough to comment here and talk about this aspect of the game, but there's nothing else to it. So, like, you don't care about sort of the JRPG aspects, the leveling up, the character interactions, the story, the art style, the really unique crafting systems, the in-depth mechanics of, just choosing traits and all this for your gear and weapons and that. It's like, there's nothing else to it. Not one other thing to it. It's like, do you play video games? Do you like video games? There's plenty of anime where you can just go and see women running around being clumsy, the boobs bumping up and down, all of that. There's plenty of ways to see that. You can Google, you can find God knows what online. But as far as a JRPG goes, where it's about forming a party and going on a story and an adventure, I'd say there's a lot more to it than just the fan service. In fact, the fan service is so surface level, that is the least important part of the whole series. It really is. You can, the next game could be a man in track pants and a t-shirt. It's like, well, there's still plenty more to it. Will it be as fun to play as? I don't know. Maybe he's a really boring dude, or maybe he goes on a great character development over the game, and he takes off his track pants and he puts on some shorts and he goes for a run and he becomes a big runner. And that is how Usain Bolt. That's the origin story of Usain Bolt. There you go. Crazy story. All right, next one is, and this is him doing a quote. So a quote from the article itself. So quote, "It can also make a sizable chunk of an audience somewhat uncomfortable," end quote. And this is a quote from the Go Nintendo interpretation of the quote from Nintendo Life. And I guess the article from Go Nintendo, the writer was basically saying that, it is cringy. It makes people uncomfortable, and more people might come in if it wasn't so like, oh my God, it's weeb energy, because weeb energy pushes a lot of people away because it's a certain taste, that's for sure. Which I'm not above having weeb tastes. That's for sure. Definitely. I'm playing Atelier. It's definitely a weeb taste game. But they go on to say, "This is false. Twitter is not a sizable chunk of any audience. Go Nintendo, more like go fuck yourself." And that fucking made me laugh so much. Go Nintendo. More like go fuck yourself. And why did Go Nintendo get told to go and fuck themselves? Because I don't know. Their opinion was it makes a sizable chunk of the audience somewhat uncomfortable. Seeing I don't know, extreme fan service where women are just paraded around as this sexual object it is strange. It is really strange. Like, go outside and touch some grass. It's strange. And there's a place for it, but if a developer wants to utilize the success of Atelier Ryza and Atelier Ryza 2, combined selling 1.6 million copies, this is a lot for Gust and Koei Tecmo. They want to keep the ball rolling, and if they've got to make some changes, I guess that's what it's got to be. But I understand as well, if you've been a fan since the PlayStation 1 days, I guess maybe fair enough. But even back then, that it was not a fan servicey game. The most fan servicey the game's got is Ryza in her thighs. Like, honestly. Another simple one is, thanks for saving me $60. So there you go. That's thanking Go Nintendo in some ways. A bit passive aggressive the way I interpreted it, but maybe it's just, thanks for saving me $60. I really just needed just a thirst trap, but I guess you're not getting that. And this one is one that makes sense. The last comment that I'm going to highlight. How's the saying go again? Starts with G. 4 words. Oh, right. Get woke, go broke. And this is something a lot of people bring up every now and again. Like, every single thing can be interpreted as like, oh, you're just going woke. It's like, what's going woke here? Like, they're not going to be like hypersexualizing their characters. And I would even argue that the characters haven't been hypersexualized anyway. Obviously, there was some, like I said in Ryza 2, where the camera angle just like swoops to her butt. It's like, oh, Jesus Christ. But apart from that, there wasn't anything too shocking. But going woke, they're not going woke. And I hope they don't go broke. I want more games. And it's sad because this is a game series that I really want to highlight here in the content that I make. It's something that I really have enjoyed over the past couple of months. And I feel like it's a series that I've really gotten into, really enjoying. And I want to highlight it, play more of the games, and talk about it here on the podcast. But there is obviously a portion of the audience that plays these games that are just psychopaths, just are weird. And there's no lack of these people online. There's plenty of people just in gaming in general. And there was a big hubbubaloo when Horizon Forbidden West was coming out on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, where Aloy, the protagonist of those games, screenshots come out and people were like hyper analyzing her face, saying like she's gotten fat or she's got facial hair, doesn't look feminine enough. It's like, what are you guys talking about? Like, there was someone on Twitter who like zoomed in and saw like a bit of fuzz, like, on a chin or a mustache or whatever. But it's like, so you do realize women have like hair on their body, don't you? They're not Barbie dolls. They're not made of plastic. They've got hair. They've got hair in places. Like, it's like, have you never been in front of a woman? And this is talking about probably men who just got no idea and just need to go and touch grass and get some social insight. And it's scary, man. It really is scary. And there's lots of there's aspects about, I guess, social politics and stuff going online, which I like to keep away from, especially discussing on content online. But I can talk from a man's perspective, and I've got to say, men, if you're in this position, you've got to do better, man. You've got to do better. You can't make our community of gamers, men, whatever, look like this. We can't be downgrading women and talking about them like this, whether it's an anime character in Atelier, whether it's a more realistic character like Lara Croft or Aloy or any of these other female characters in games. It's embarrassing. It's disgusting. It's freaking weird. So you got to stop doing it. It's crazy. And I want to be a part of the Atelier community, and I don't want any of this weird bullshit going on. And And that's not to say that we can't be like, oh, that's a pretty character. These are pretty characters. That's cool looking art design, character design. There's a lot to it. I think Ryza and a lot of the other protagonists in Atelier are cute, pretty, and I like, playing as them in game. And even to the point in, say, Pokemon games, I usually pick the female character, since they've been doing the 3D models, because I just like playing as a pretty female character in games. It's something different to my everyday life. In real life, I play as a man. So I quite like it in video games. And sure, that could have been a reason why I was drawn to the series in the first place. But there's a lot more to love rather than just putting fan service into video games where there's a female protagonist. There's a lot more to it. And ultimately, it's the story that the developers want to make. If they want to make a story about a pretty tomboy girl who just lusts for adventure with her friends, that's exactly what they do with Atelier Ryza. Go and make that game. If you want to play as whatever the character in Starfield is coming from Bethesda later this year, she's not like, oh, look, oh my God, look at her hair and she's so pretty. She's just a normal female. Make that story. If you want to make a story about a redhead Aloy in Horizon Forbidden West, make that story. It's up to the developers and what audience they're targeting. And just to have this sort of backlash is weird. So I don't know. If I'm a part of this the discussion as far as Atelier goes, I want to sort of inject some more of that perspective into the games. Someone who has a wife and has been in front of a female before, and respects women. I think that perspective is important, especially after reading these comments. Jesus Christ! And this wasn't even a fraction of what I was reading. It went on forever and ever and ever. And this is actually a tweet that I retweeted. You can check it out on my Twitter. But someone said literally the whole appeal, relating to the fan service in Atelier. And they did a picture where it's summing up Ryza's thigh size. So in the first game, apparently she had 60% thigh, 80% thigh in the second game, and in the third game, it's up to 90%. I don't know what their measuring Richter scale was or whatever. But the first two, the picture from the first game, she's standing up. The picture in the second game, she's standing up. The picture in the third game, she's sitting down. I'm like, I quoted it saying, bro, she's standing up in the first two images and sitting in the third. That's how legs work. Man, she's sitting down. Of course her legs are going to be wider. When you sit down, your legs sort of, fill out, like on the seat. Whether you're a man, a woman, or a grizzly bear. What the hell? And even if their thighs have gotten bigger, I don't know, it's just weird, man. Stop it. Stop it! You're creeping me out. I don't like it. So regardless, we'll end the conversation there, but really looking forward to Atelier Ryza 3. And it's a little bit of fan service, but nothing too much, hopefully. Or there might be more. Who knows? I don't know. All right, let's move on to the news. We got a little bit to talk about this week. Nothing too major, but we've got some Zelda news, some Mario Plus Lush news, and all that type of stuff. So let's jump into it.
Woohoo! Yeah! Pika, pika! Is that all?
I fight for my friends.
Wahoo!
My body is still there.
So the first bit of news is something very exciting that has made me happy because I can get a present for my wife. So this is from Vooks.net, and the Super Mario Bros. Movie has made a collaboration with Lush Cosmetics. And apparently it's launching tomorrow, so I guess that's today. Cool. So I can go and get some Lush products, and I guess, I don't know if the article will cover it, but tomorrow Lush Cosmetics will launch a new collaboration with the Super Mario Bros. Movie with some new products to help keep you fresh. This is just a reskin of their existing products, but bespoken items like the question mark block bath bomb with a Mario item inside, specific Mario Luigi body washes, and even peach body spray. But you'll never guess what it smells like. Peach. Yeah, I guess it doesn't cover it, but Lush, it's basically like a cosmetic, well, not cosmetic. I'm a man. I find it hard. I've only gone here for presents for my wife. When I go to Adelaide, they got a store up there. But they do bath bombs and soaps and fragrances and, scents and stuff for your house, stuff like that. So I usually pick her up a couple of bath bombs. She loves having baths, smell nice and bubbles and stuff. It's not my thing, but I know she likes them. So whenever I go to Rundle Mall, I always pick her up some. So I said to him, like, oh, look, I'm going to get you a present. I'm going to get you a superstar or a question mark block, because I can feel the need to buy some Mario stuff, and you can get some bath bombs. So go and check that out if you're in Australia. You got a store near you. But yeah, go and get you some Lush stuff. Because it's always just a great present option for me to go and pick up some stuff and keep my wife happy. And that's the most important thing to do when you go on a trip. Come back to a happy wife, you're grinning. I tell you that. Because if you don't bring anything, I've either got to bring back Krispy Kreme donuts or some Lush. So I need some Mario Krispy Kreme as well. Then we got the whole theme set out. Next up is from My Nintendo News. Nintendo was the 12th publisher in Metacritic's game publisher rankings in 2022. The article reads, each year online review aggregation site Metacritic publishes game publisher rankings, and 2022 was no expectation. The rankings were based on each publisher's output in 2022, and interestingly, it was Sony who came out on top with an average score of 85.6. Nintendo didn't fare quite as well, as they averaged 78.6 and therefore came out in 12th. Here are the top 15 publisher rankings based on 2022 game releases. So just go for the list here. Number 1 is Sony. Number 2 is Paradox Interactive. Number 3 is Activision Blizzard. Number 4 is Focus Interactive. Number 5 is Take-Two Interactive. Number 6 is Capcom. Number 7 is Sega. Number 8 is Annapurna Interactive. Number 9 is Humble Games. Number 10 is Devolver Digital. Number 11 is Red Ant Art Games. Number 12 is Nintendo. Number 13 is Axis Games. Number 14 is Atari. And number 15 is WayForward. So yeah, interesting that they're so far down. But I guess really, really last year they had some great releases, but it was nothing that's going to like tip the scales as far as, putting up their Metacritic or review scores. Whereas like a bunch of smaller stuff, it was fun. And also a bunch of, stuff like Wii Sports, Mario Strikers, that didn't score so well, so that would have dragged them down. Whereas I feel with Sony having like God of War and, just a massive title, that's just automatic, just get the average right up there. So pretty cool to see. I think this year with Tears of the Kingdom, it'll be interesting to see how they fare this year. Now they've had a good start of the year. Kirby, Fire Emblem, Bayonetta reviewed well. Around the 8s, I would say, as far as an average goes. So we'll see how it goes. So, it's going to be a good year, though. It's a good year for Nintendo fans. If someone else is like, oh, should I buy a Switch based on the games that come out this year? Maybe not, but I feel like, with Advance Wars and Zelda, Pikmin 4, a lot to look forward to each month. And now I think about it, too. Metroid Prime Remastered, that's like the best rated game like this year, which is crazy. So that'll be a great bump to their Metacritic as well. Can I look up? It's only got new games here. New games. Can I just do best ranked? Don't know. Can't do it quick enough for the show anyway. Let's move on. So also from My Nintendo News, 30-second Tetris 99 Maximus Cup begins later this week. So the Maximus Cup will be able to get a theme from Fire Emblem Engage, which will be pretty cool. You'll be able to participate in that from the 24th, so the time of recording this, until the 27th of March. So a couple of days over the weekend, go and get your Fire Emblem Awakening theme and Tetris. It's been a long time since we've last had one of these Maximus Cups, so it's good that they're still coming out, and hopefully we get one for Kirby and Bayonetta as well. And they keep them coming out because it's I guess Tetris 99. It's been the best sort of way of keeping their titles, I guess, relevant for Switch Online. You get it when you subscribe to the service, and keeping that going with events, very simple themes, and I think it's a good way to do it. So good that that's coming out. Will I get to it? I don't know. I don't think I will. I got Atelier to get into, but we'll see. Anuma says Zelda Tears of the Kingdom has new gameplay that will bring changes to the game world. And this is relayed from My Nintendo News once again. The article reads, the release of Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is just a couple of months away. There's a lot of excitement for the game, but Nintendo has been strict with what they reveal about it. However, that didn't stop Zelda producer Eiji Aonuma from teasing something last week. You see, Aonuma was at Famitsu's Dengeki Game Awards a week ago. The game's pre-launch excitement is so great that Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom won an award for the most anticipated. Aonuma, in response, delivered a brief speech at the event. The speech was translated by Twitter user Genki JPN, who was among those in attendance. Although their tweet relaying the news was no longer available to view, they have mentioned that Aonuma said that in the sequel, Tears of the Kingdom, furthermore, the players' free imagination will be filled with new gameplay that will bring about changes to the game world. End quote. So this is somewhat interesting. It's not too much, but it just sort of opens up your imagination to what potentially we will be doing in this game and putting up information that we've got from previous trailers. I think the most sort of thing that I think about is like the vehicle customization, where it looks like you're able to put together vehicles to move, through the sky, through the land, and traverse that way. And how that's sort of brought about from, I guess, heavy customization that's been in popular games such as Fortnite and Minecraft, and a lot of people are pointing towards like Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts on Xbox 360, developed by Rare. That's just what comes to my mind when it comes to like free imagination. How you're like your imagination is I guess your limit for what you can achieve in the game and how you can traverse the world. And I feel like there's going to be a lot more to this game that they're ever going to let on before we get the hands on the game. I think they saw how powerful just the word of mouth was for Breath of the Wild. People talking about it, people discussing it on social media, what they found, what they can do with all the elements and all the systems in the game, using the lightning, fire, just everything that the game allows you to do. And I feel like they're like, all right, we'll let the marketing do itself. And that's a great way to do it, because there's going to be so many surprises when we pick up this game. It's going to be unreal. People are going to be like, oh my God, talking about it. And it's going to hopefully create a similar buzz to what Breath of the Wild started when the Switch came out. I don't think it'll be on the same level just because of, the Switch launch plus the launch of a brand new Zelda game, which is completely different. I don't think it's going to be on that same level, but it is going to be exciting regardless of what we're going to get from this game. So exciting, man. Keen for it. Cannot wait. May 12th. May 12th. The day is already booked off. Gonna be a good day. Next up, this is from Go Nintendo, or like the other person said, go fuck yourself. FIFA 23 Legacy Edition is North America's next Nintendo Switch Online free trial. And I just thought I would bring this up because it's kind of cool that FIFA game, you can try it out for free on Nintendo Switch. The Legacy Edition means it hasn't been updated. It's just been updated with roster updates, nothing mechanically since 2017. It became a legacy console for EA very quickly. But if you don't care about sort of mechanical stuff and you just want to play some quick football, it's probably not too bad a way to do it. So you can pick it up for 50% off after the deal is up. And you can... and it will end on the 30th of March. So go check that out. I quite like FIFA. I bought it on PS5. I haven't even played it yet. But it was like $60. It was cheap. And this is going to be the last FIFA game from EA. It's going to change to EA, what's it called? EA Football Club or something like that, because they no longer want to pay for the FIFA branding, which is fair enough. It costs them a lot of money to get that name. So FIFA's going to go to some other developers, make some... I think they're talking about like the blockchain and stuff like that. They're going to incorporate. It sounds like a nightmare. So I think the EA games are going to be the games to stick with. But if you want to try it out on Switch, you can. You can try it from the 23rd to the 29th of March. So go and check it out. I think it's the same in Australia too, but yeah. Next up, I just want to talk about the video from Jared the Completionist, or Gerard, sorry, Jared. Gerard the Completionist, and he put out a video where he spent just 23 grand on buying every single 3DS and Wii U game from the Nintendo eShop. And it's a really great video. Go and check it out if you haven't seen it already. But they talk about a lot of the hurdles and hoops he had to jump through to buy every single game on the Nintendo Wii U and 3DS. And what a nightmare it was. You could only load $250 onto your online wallet at a time. Both systems only allow you to have 300 icons on the home screen at once. So he had to put them over multiple hard drives, multiple SD cards. And he also wanted to buy all the DLC for all the games. And the DLC on 3DS, I didn't know this. I didn't really think about it that much because I'm not buying multiple games in the sort of the order that he is. But for the games, you have to go into the actual game itself and buy it from the in-game menu. And some games you had to play for an hour to buy the DLC. And some games actually involved you to beat the game before buying the DLC. Like the Ace Attorney series, apparently you had to beat the game before buying DLC, which makes no sense commercially. Like anybody that wants to buy it, they should just like have it there for you. Let alone just how annoying it is for someone to try to do this particular challenge. So it was interesting. It was an interesting video, and it was very much summed up by Gerard talking about lost media and why video game preservation is very important. And I'm going to read out a quote from a quote of why it's important. So lost media is very real as far as video game preservation is concerned. Since the industry started, we run a daily risk of losing games forever, and that's why this matters. And that's why we've been doing a long time supporter. That's why I've been a long time supporter of non-profits like the Video Game History Foundation and their efforts to support the preservation of video games, code, media, print, and more. In fact, we started our own charity event, Preserved Play, which is an annual charity event to raise money for them. And that's what's happening this year on April 15th and 16th on my Twitch channel. And we will be donating these consoles and the storage to Video Game History Foundation in every end so that these games can live on. So that's why it's done. Every available game on Nintendo Wii U and 3DS has been saved. It cost far too much time and way too much money, but it was an absolutely worth it for the sake of video game preservation, end quote. And that was a quote from Gerard. I just couldn't, just by reading this, it didn't lead into it that well, but that's what he said at the end of his video. And yeah, video game preservation, very important. Something we don't think about when it comes to brand new games, buying them as they come out. We want to, save our games from our, old Nintendo consoles and our physical media across all platforms. And it's something we don't think about because, say, in 50 years, if a publisher just does not want to support their game or doesn't have it available to buy or have it anywhere, it's just up to people like this and foundations like this to have it just accessible and the knowledge of it's still out there, because video games could easily be a medium where we just sort of forget about a lot of games apart from the bangers, the stuff that everyone's talking about, the stuff that makes money that publishers are willing to have out there. So it's important. It really is important. But I'm a little bit unsure about buying that many games on 3DS and Wii U, and I'll tell you why. There's a lot of sort of hubbubaloo about the eShop shutting down, and rightfully so. There's a bunch of great games you'll no longer be able to play on 3DS and Wii U when these stores disappear. A bunch of stuff on 3DS, whether it's the Virtual Console, even on the Wii U. Like the Wii U had a Wii Virtual Console, DS, Game Boy Advance, stuff that wasn't found on any other platforms, including Switch. So it's important that if you want some of these games, go and get them. I'm going to go and get some DS games because the emulation and how the gamepad works with DS games is perfect. 2 screens, can't emulate that on PC that easily. Switch won't do it, doesn't have 2 screens. And so if you want to play those games on your TV, perfect way of doing it. So I'm going to buy a couple of those games there. But what really annoyed me about Wii U and 3DS, especially even back in the day, it was scary buying digital games. And this is why I never bought digital full-price 3DS games from Nintendo or any other publishers. Only exclusive stuff over there is that it doesn't really have a proper account system. There was no way of tying your purchases to your account. It was locked to the system. And the Wii did this, and in some ways, it's the Wii. You don't have an account. There was no like Nintendo ID or Nintendo account. You just had a friend code tied to that specific Wii, and that was it. So it's fair enough. It's 2007 when the Wii came out. Was it 2006? 2006. So very early days. Xbox was way ahead of its time, so it had, your gamer tag and that over there. And all your purchases were tied to your gamer tag. If your Xbox 360 died, which it probably did with Red Ring of Death, you could just go and buy another one, sign into your Xbox Live ID, download your games. But Wii, you could not do that. So leading into a lot more prominent digital future with 3DS and Wii U, I really hoped that they're going to step up their game with their account system. That was something that was at the top of my list, even above online play and achievements and a bunch of other stuff. It doesn't quite matter. But as far as having your digital purchases really looked after, that was something important on 3DS and Wii U. But it was the same. They brought out a brand new system. It's called Nintendo ID. It had a logo on most 3DS boxes. If you look on a 3DS case, you'll see up the top left, top left? Might be top right. I don't know. I can't quite remember. But you'll see a little N, a lowercase n, surrounded by an orange square. And that was like your Nintendo ID, your Nintendo account. You made an account and, you got newsletters from Nintendo and all of this. But your purchases were tied to the system still. And it was just so backwards. So you could spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on games, DLC. And if you want to move them to a brand new system, like I did, when the 3DS XL comes out, the new 2DS, the new 2DS XL, all these systems that came out, you had to migrate, your account over to this other system with like the cool little transfer system that had like Pikmin sort of moving all the icons from one screen to another. It was pretty visually cool, but it was scary because you couldn't just trade it in and download your stuff. So you're tied to an account, and the same on the Wii U, which was just so frustrating. And the thing is with Jared, why I say Jared the completionist, Gerard the completionist, he spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on games that are locked to this system. In a few years, if this 3DS dies, no matter how many times these games are backed up onto a computer, on hard drives, whatever, these games are gone. They will be no longer accessible. And only through hacking a 3DS or Wii you'll be able to inject these back onto a system. So, for example, when the Switch dies, when the Switch is like the eShop shutting down for Nintendo Switch, be like, okay, let's buy the games we want to play, and they'll be tied to your account, and you can sign into any Switch that you want to pick up and re-download the games. Your purchases are safe unless you get hacked or Nintendo says, all right, we're not going to allow you to re-download games, which would be asinine, but it could happen. But, you've got an account system finally on Nintendo Switch, but back then we did not have it. And that's why I'm not rushing out to buy games on these platforms. I'll buy a couple of the DS games, but apart from that, I feel like my games would be much more secure, honestly, just hacking a 3DS and putting games on it that way. That way you can back games up. You can move it from SD card to SD card. You can put them onto a different system that shares a different account. It's a backwards method they had back then. So just be wary that if you want to spend a lot of money on these old eShops, just keep in mind, look after these systems because there's no signing in and out and re-downloading your stuff on a different system without that transfer. So just be careful out there. But it was a really cool video. People are asking, why did you do this? Why did you spend so much money? It's so dumb. Just at a real basic level, as far as, the completionist, 1 million subscriber plus channel, it makes a good video. It's good content. That's a good enough reason as it is. I don't know his financial position. He mentions in the video that, it's money that he did not have. I'm sure it's going to rekindle a bit of money just with the amount of views and stuff on there and the amount of traction his other videos would get, I would imagine. So he's not going to be out of pocket. He's not going to be like, shit, I can't pay my rent because I bought all these games. I don't think so. But it's just a cool video to make and see, a little bit of a challenge as far as completing the 3DS and Wii U eShop titles. So yeah, real cool video. Go and check it out if you haven't seen it already. But just the point I wanted to make, be careful if you want to spend a bit of cash before the eShop shuts. At the time of recording, we have 2 days, 20 hours, 1 minute, and 24 seconds until these shops shut down. So by the time the episode comes out, it'll be a day less. And if you're listening to it a couple of days in, it's gone. The eShop is gone. So yeah, go and check out that video if you haven't already. Next up, just from Books.net, we've got a brand new Kirby Return to Dreamland Deluxe mouse pad. Just want to bring this up. This is just the Australian My Nintendo store. For 400 platinum points, you can get a Kirby mouse pad. It's 21 centimeters by 21 centimeters, and it's just a picture of Kirby inhaling air. So it's pretty cool. You can also get some tote bags with Super Mario characters, and looks like some Yoshi patches as well. I never use my points on the My Nintendo store, but I don't know. This Kirby mouse pad's too small. I'm the type of guy, I need like a big mouse pad, not a mouse pad. You know, I'm not a little small mouse mover, whatever that means. What else we got here? Oh, I just want to highlight this. So a brand new driving Lego game has been announced. Lego 2K Drive coming to Nintendo Switch May 19th. And it looks awesome. So if you're a fan of Mario Kart, I think you're definitely going to want to check out these trailers. When I first heard about the game being announced, I'm like, oh, yeah, it's a Lego game. And I played a Lego Skywalker Saga. I got bored of it really quick, got to be honest. The new Star Wars game. Got bored of it pretty quick. So when I heard about this, I'm like, oh, whatever. But it's actually, they're teaming up with 2K. So a different publisher. So it's not made by, what were they called again? In my mind, I've got Telltale. Oh, I forgot their name. Who make the Lego games. It's really annoying me. Someone's screaming at their computer or iPhone at the moment. But regardless. So I checked out the trailers to this game. And if you like Mario Kart, this is certainly up your alley. You know, it's a racing game. You're able to move between different vehicles as you go on different terrains. So move between boats, cars, quad bikes, all of that, depending on what type of environment you're on. You go through question mark blocks like Mario Kart, get different items. And the items look like they're pulling it straight out of Mario Kart. There's the ghosts, there's the missiles that act as shells. There's the shields, banana-like items, all of that. Looks like a lot of fun. Just the breakability of everything as you're racing along the track. Looks great. So that's a Grand Prix mode. But there's also like a story mode. So it's like an open zone racing game, similar to Forza Horizon. If you've ever played the Forza Horizon games, and even more maybe specifically, there's an expansion for Forza Horizon 4, which was Lego-based, and you're driving around real cars in a Lego world, and you're smashing blocks and just causing havoc, doing different challenges and tricks and races. It was so much fun. One of my favorite sort of open world games is just driving around in a car, doing challenges, collecting boards and stuff as you're like going around smashing different boards and finding unlockable cars and stuff. And the story mode looks like that. You're doing like a bunch of challenges. You can play like, there's a section of like, looks like you're playing golf, where you're smashing a giant golf ball around. There's just driving around this Lego world, just unlocking stuff and open world. Looks awesome. So this morning after the trailer, it sold me really hard. And I went and pre-ordered the game, pre-ordered it on PlayStation 5. I got the second edition, the Awesome Edition, which comes with a 1-year drive pass, all of that. So you'll be able to pick up the game on all platforms for $90 Australian dollars. The standard edition, the Awesome Edition is $150. And then there's the Awesome Rivals Edition, which is $180 here in Australia, which comes with a bunch of, cars and unlock packs and all of that. So go and check out the trailers. I think it's worth your time to go and check it out. I've pre-ordered the game. Looks awesome. I love just driving games where you drive around and explore. And there's aspects that have pulled from like Burnout, maybe even the Forza Horizon games with the exploration. A bunch of stuff in there, man. It looks like it's just feature-packed. And it's something I was thinking about, like, they got the Grand Prix mode in this, where it is essentially go-karting Mario Kart style. It's like, imagine like the next Mario Kart. I feel like the step they could take is just, the mechanics in that are great. I don't feel like adding just like Nintendo characters would be super suitable for Mario Kart. I'd like them to keep Mario Kart as Mario Kart, but also have some special guest characters like they currently have. They got Link, Villager, hopefully Kirby coming up. But I like that they be kept pretty minimal. But imagine if they do like an open zone Mario Kart with a story mode. You're going around doing different challenges. You can just drive around and explore. Even like more exaggerated than Diddy Kong Racing on Nintendo 64. There's a lot there to just like be really excited about if they ever did it. Just like this full-on story mode with the Grand Prix, awesome battle mode. bunch of stuff to do online, whether it's challenges, battles, races. I think there's a lot they could probably take from games like this. Obviously, we've got to see what it turns out like, but I've got high hopes. So yeah, pre-ordered that, put my money where my mouth is. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens on May 19th. Keen for that. Awesome stuff. Okay, let's jump into the Red Coin releases this week. There's a bunch of stuff that came out I'm excited for, and we'll talk about it there. Oh, baby. So the first game is obvious. It's Atelier Ryza 3, Alchemist of the End and the Secret Key. And we've talked about it enough, but I would like just to set up the story as far as the little blurb here goes. So the story begins with a group of islands called the Karak Isles appear near Ryza, the protagonist's hometown. Seeing as a threat to their home, Ryza and her friends investigate the isles and discover ruins with a huge gate. As Ryza approaches the gate, a strange voice echoes in her head, telling her to reach the code of the universe. What is it that lies beyond the gate? And what does the code of the universe mean? In hopes of finding a way to save their home, Ryza and her friends set off on a great adventure that revolves around a key and the roots of alchemy. So yeah, pretty cool. Keen to play that after I finish this show. Next up is Storyteller. You can get it for $21 on the Australian eShop. A puzzle game about building stories. Experience the history's greatest stories like never before. Storyteller is an award-winning reactive puzzle game that lets you build the story. Storyteller's charming animations and comic panel design allows for a unique puzzle mechanic. Use your wits and retell iconic tales or experiment to find something new. And this was a game from a Nintendo Direct, if you remember some of them. I can't remember if it was a partnership or an indie Direct or maybe a bit of both, but from Annapurna Interactive, you can put comic book panels and tell the story, tell your own story basically and put it all together. Pretty cool puzzle game. I'm going to check it out. Don't know when I've got the time to, but it's definitely something to put on my wish list to check out later. Next up, we got Nefasto's Misadventure meeting Noeroze? I don't know. That's a made-up word. I don't know how you pronounce it. So it's a point-and-click adventure in your console's main processor. In this vibrant tribute to the point-and-click genre, play as Nefasto, a corrupted piece of game data locked in a buggy console. The system is about to crash and your time is running out. Will you find a way out before being permanently deleted from the program? Adventure, action, puzzle, etc. guide Nefasto through a strange and mind-blowing world as you solve challenging puzzles, meet colorful-looking characters, and fight wacky bosses and unlock many of the endings before the clock runs out. I get a clock too. Jesus Christ, put the pressure on. There's meta-humor in every conversation in a world where the fourth wall is broken. So it looks interesting. I really like the art style, just like a hand-drawn art style. And I guess different places you go to, the art style changes too. So it goes between like 16-bit and then like a hand-drawn art style. Looks pretty cool. So you can get it for just under $30 on the Australian eShop. Maybe one I'll add to my wish list as well. Another big one, which I want to get into, but it's going to take a long time to get here, is The Legend of Heroes Tales of Azure. Azure? I remember people pronouncing it, but now that I'm here, I can't pronounce it myself. Now that it's coming out my mouth. Tales to Azure. That'll do. So a hero's duty, a city's fate. Following the events from Tales from Zero, a special support section find themselves with new members and new duties. However, rising tensions in Crossbell among with the pressures from two neighboring political powers threaten both the safety and of their home as well as the integrity of the team. So I got no idea what they just said, but I haven't played any of the Legend of Heroes games. But from what I understand, this is a series I really want to get into, a series of JRPGs that have been going for a long time, since 2004. And there's a bunch of trilogies and I guess quadrilogies or, sections of games that are telling stories from particular countries in games. And it very much dives into the politics, the characters, everything going on in this country. And the series is based focusing on a content. So you go from different sections of games. You're playing as different different people from different countries, and it all sort of collides together in what a lot of people describe as like the Avengers, style sort of meeting where different protagonists, different characters will eventually meet up and a lot of stuff happens. And it's one of like the best long running stories in a JRPG a lot of people have played, and it's highly recommended. And I'm really keen to get into it. The first game is called Legend of Heroes Trails to the Sky, which I've picked up on Steam. You can't get it on Switch, frustratingly enough. So there's 3 Legend of Heroes Trails to the Sky games, and that's the first trilogy in the games. And that focuses on a certain section of characters in a certain region. And then Legend of Heroes, the Trails to Azure or Trails to Zero that are on Switch, they focus on their own characters and story and all that too. So there's a few games on Switch you can play. There's a few that you can't, but I want to start at the start. But I've got to do that on PC, and PC is my least accessible system, to be honest. It's the only one I don't have my gaming card, and I don't have room for a PC unless I hook up a laptop or something like that. But I'm keen to get into Legend of Heroes games, and I hope everyone's enjoying it who was, this ports finally came out to the West on Switch, PS5, and PC. So enjoy yourselves, everyone. Have fun. I might talk about it when I get to it. All right, so this brings us to the section of the show, which is something I'm trying to experiment with, something a little bit different. I'm calling it Doug Bowser's Hot Takes. And we all know Doug Bowser has some awful hot takes, doesn't he? God. What some of those hot takes, I don't know. But every now and again, he puts them over my desk, and I've got to try and defend it somehow. Nintendo, we loved Reggie as our president. But Doug Bowser, we honestly haven't had much word from him. But every now and again, he has an opinion that just doesn't make any sense. So we've got to defend Doug Bowser's honor. We've got to make him an honorary, president of Nintendo, someone we look back on, respect, love. So this week, let's defend this this opinion that Doug Bowser has. And I think he's been listening to the rest of the show. His opinion here is fan service is the only aspect of a game that matters. And I think Doug Bowser's been on the message boards for Atelier Ryza 3 a little bit too much, but we'll try and justify this position. Now, my position as far as fan service. We talked about it a lot. It was the main topic of the show this week. But let's try and defend it. So I've got 1 minute to try and defend his take. I've got no idea what I'm going to say, but it's just going to come out my mouth, and then it's going to get clipped and put out of context as a YouTube short. So let's try and do this. So 1, 2, 3. So I believe fan service is the only aspect of a video game that matters. And look, honestly, if there's an aspect of a game that matters less, it's the gameplay, it's the mechanics, it's everything that's involved with actually playing the game. When it comes to playing something like Final Fantasy, the Atelier series, any other JRPGs, I just want a female character to have big assets and not much else going on. I don't even want to pick up the controller. I don't want to even have a level up section. I just want a movable camera where I move it around and I can look at their face and look at their thighs. And that's about it. That's about all I want from a Japanese role-playing game. There's nothing else. And if it doesn't have that in the game, I'm going to be very disappointed, and I'm going to boycott the game by saying, go woke or go broke, because we all know when you go woke, you go broke. All right, and that's the minute. Jesus Christ. I felt gross for saying that. That's a joke. But Doug Bowser, he has some hot takes, which I don't necessarily agree with. So what I want to do, I put it out there this last week, but I did not hear from anyone. This is a very small show. I don't discourage anyone, but I would love to hear from you. Some hot takes you want to put in my mouth for me to end the show with each week. And I would like to have it from someone else instead of me coming up with them and putting them. So it's a surprise to me every time it happens. So you can send your hot takes to me to defend on the show via my email at drew@thehouseofmario.com, and you can title the email with Doug's hot takes, so I know what it is. I can open it up on the show, and I can be surprised and try and defend it straight off the bat. Oh dear, oh dearie dearie. So, man, that's gonna be a spicy one if that gets clipped. Everyone's going to think I'm just like a big man baby. Maybe I am in some ways, but not in that way. Don't know. Regardless. That's the end of the show, guys. Thank you so much for listening to the House of Mario episode 247. Before I go, I'm going to queue up this week's Nintendo Mystery Jukebox. Let me know what your guess is of what game the music is from and what you thought of the episode. You can reach me on this podcast YouTube comments or at twitter.com/idruby or even our Discord. There's an invite to the show note. Well, there's an invite to our Discord community in the show notes to our awesome little community. But until then, guys, the doors to the House of Mario are closed. I'll catch you later.